Today we're going to tell you a story that comes from the southern island of Phuket.
Yeah, a place most people think of for beaches, right? Sun, sand.
Exactly. But there's this old legend deep down that's pretty strange, mysterious, even a bit unsettling.
Definitely unsettling.
And as we get into it, we really have to ask you, use your discretion listening to this. It's a strong local belief passed down.
That's right. Temples, especially old ones, they collect these stories. They're more than just history. They soak up local faith, experiences, sometimes things you can't easily explain.
In this story, it centers on a temple in Phuket that people whispered. Well, they said it eats its abbots.
Right, this chilling reputation. And at the core of it, this really bizarre golden Buddha statue, only half showing, like it's stuck or maybe choosing to stay hidden in the earth.
It's a wild tale. Strange events, a terrifying curse, this riddle that held everything together. So let's start at the beginning. Thalang area, heavy rains, floods.
Yeah, the legend of Phra Phut, or Phra Thong as it's also known, it kicks off with some serious weather. Huge rains, flooding, the whole landscape near the canal bank just torn up.
So picture this. The water's finally gone down, mud everywhere. A young farm boy's out with his buffalo, needs to tie it up.
But all the usual spots are gone, washed away or damaged.
He looks around, sees what looks like a big sort of weird tree stump sticking out of the mud near the canal. Looks solid enough.
So he ties the buffalo's rope right to it. Simple as that.
And then things get bad, really fast. The boy goes home, and the moment he gets there, he just collapses, starts convulsing.
And just like that, he dies the very same day. It's shocking.
Unbelievably tragic. His parents, obviously devastated, later go looking for their buffalo.
And they find it dead.
Yeah.
Right there, at the exact spot where the boy tied the rope to that stump.
2 sudden deaths, linked to that one spot, that one object. The parents must have been absolutely terrified, but they needed answers.
You can imagine, they went closer, cautiously, to look at this thing the rope was tied to.
And that night, the boy's father has a dream.
A really significant dream. A figure appears and tells him why his son and the buffalo died.
What was the reason?
The figure explained that the rope wasn't tied to a stump at all. It was tied directly around the Kesmala, that's the very top knot of a sacred golden Buddha statue buried right there under the ground.
Wow. Just wow. So not a stump, but the top of something holy.
Exactly. The next morning, the father tells everyone his dream, gets the villagers together. They all go back to that spot.
And they start carefully cleaning away the mud, the debris.
And there it is. Just like the dream said, the golden top knot of a Buddha image pushing up from the earth.
Incredible. Word must have spread like crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Villagers started coming from all over to see it, to pray, make offerings. They knew this was something special, something sacred revealed in this, extraordinary way.
And eventually news travels up the chain, right, to the local ruler in Thalang.
Yep. He hears about this golden Buddha popping out of the ground.
And his first thought is probably, okay, let's get this thing out.
Makes sense, right? A golden Buddha, you'd want to excavate it fully, bring it up properly.
But it wasn't that simple, was it?
Not at all. The legend says when they tried, they just couldn't. The sources talk about encountering an ill omen, like a curse was actively stopping them.
A curse? What actually happened? What stopped the digging?
Well, as the workers started digging around that golden top knot, suddenly swarms of wasps and hornets, thousands of them just poured out of the ground.
Pouring out of the earth.
That's the story. And they attacked the diggers ferociously, stinging them relentlessly.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
And dangerous.
It was. The stings were apparently so bad that many of the workers got incredibly sick, and the legend even says some of them died from it. It was like a sudden, violent defense.
But there was that really strange detail about who got hurt and who didn't.
Yes. This is where it gets even weirder. Villagers who came just to worship the image, light incense, pray,
Yeah.
they got stung too by the same insects. But the story goes, they felt no pain. Zero. It was as if the insects knew who was trying to dig and who was there to show respect.
So the wasps only really harmed the excavators.
That's the implication. It really hammered home this idea that the Buddha was sacred, protected, and was not meant to be disturbed or removed.
The message was pretty clear then. Don't dig here.
Loud and clear. So, since digging it up was obviously out of the question, the ruler did the next best thing.
Which was?
He just ordered a simple shelter built over the top knot. Basic cover, mark the spot for people to worship, acknowledging it was there, even if it was staying put underground.
Okay, so now there's a shelter. but the golden tip is still sort of vulnerable.
Right.
Then later on, this wandering holy man shows up, a white-robed ascetic.
Right. He passes through, sees the situation, this golden top knot under a basic shelter, and he immediately worries about thieves. Gold, right. Someone might try and steal it.
So he decides to protect it himself, using local stuff.
Exactly. He gathered up burnt seashells, mixed them with sand, basically making a simple lime plaster.
And just covered the gold part.
Yep. Plastered right over the visible golden top knot. Kind of a camouflage and protection, hiding the valuable metal.
Okay, so time moves on. History intervenes. We get to the Burmese War, the Battle of Thalang, around King Ramaphur's reign, maybe 1785 AD or 2028 BE in the Thai calendar.
Right. The Burmese army is attacking Ceylon, and they also hear the rumors about this buried golden Buddha.
Oh no. They're going to try and dig it up too, aren't they?
That's what the story says. They found the spot, somehow got rid of that plaster covering the ascetic had put on.
And started digging.
They did. And apparently they got a little bit further than the first attempt, down to what the legend calls the neck, the Fraisor.
But then, same thing happened.
Astonishingly, yes. Just like before, huge swarms erupt from the ground. Wasps, hornets, and this time adds tiny red ants to the mix. Masses of them.
And they attacked the soldiers.
Viciously. Attacked the Burmese troops, stinging, biting. The legend says many soldiers got sick, and a significant number actually died from the attacks, just like the first time.
So they had to give up too.
They were forced to abandon the digging and retreat. It's a pretty dramatic detail, this second failed attempt by an invading army. It really cements the idea of the image being supernaturally protected.
Incredible. Whatever was guarding it was powerful. So the Buddha stayed buried, maybe with the neck showing now too, covered up again somehow, just waiting. Years go by. The site's known, maybe feared, but it's not really a temple yet.
Right, just this legendary spot. Until many years later, a different kind of visitor arrives. A meditating monk, a Phra Thudong, traveling all the way from Sukhothai.
And he sees the state of things. The top knot exposed again, maybe?
Presumably the plaster had worn off or been removed over time. He saw the golden top knot, maybe part of the neck, and he felt that same concern. This sacred thing is vulnerable. Someone could steal it.
But his idea wasn't just to cover it up again. He thought bigger.
Much bigger. He decided the only real way to protect it properly was to build a full temple around it.
So he rallied the locals.
Yes, got the villagers involved. They worked together, building the essentials: monks' quarters, kuti, a sermon hall, viharn, an ordination hall, ubosot, and importantly, he directed the building of a structure around the original image.
Did he try digging it out first?
No, he didn't. The structure he had built covered the original golden part. But, and this is key, he only built the upper half, from the waist up.
Only half.
It was deliberate, to make it look like the Buddha was actually emerging from the ground. It was a way to honor its unique origin story, showing it wasn't just placed there, but came from the earth.
Clever. And this monk, the founder.
He became known as Luang Por Seng. He established the temple, initially called Wat Nan Nai, but before he left, he added one more twist: a condition. A really strange, kind of scary riddle.
A riddle? What for?
It was a test for any future abbot who wanted to lead the temple. They had to solve this riddle. If they couldn't, well, there were consequences.
Yeah, it was a riddle. It sounds ominous already.
It is. The recorded riddle goes, come again, That sounds incredibly cryptic. And what happened if an abbot couldn't solve it?
The condition was strict. No abbot who failed to understand or solve it could stay at the temple for more than one Lent season. Basically about a year.
And if they stayed longer?
They'd face misfortune, bad luck, illness, maybe even death.
Seriously, that's intense.
Very intense. And this is exactly where the temple got its chilling nickname. After Luang Por Seng left, abbots started coming to Wat Nanai.
How many?
The legend says 14. One after another.
And none of them could solve the riddle.
Not one. They all failed to figure it out.
So now, what happened to them? Did the curse hold true? Apparently, yes. None of them lasted more than that single year. The stories vary. Some supposedly went mad, driven crazy by the puzzle or just the vibe of the place. Others are said to have died mysteriously, or just hit such a string of bad luck and misfortune they had to leave.
14 abbots in a row meeting that fate.
Yeah.
Within a year each time. That's chilling.
It's a terrifying pattern, right? It cemented this belief that the temple was cursed, that it actively rejected anyone who couldn't pass Luang Por Singh's test.
And that's when people started calling it.
Watkin Samparn, the temple that eats its abbots? Or just Watkin Phra, the temple that eats monks?
Wow, what a reputation.
Yeah.
And with no abbot able to stay, the temple itself must have suffered.
It did. It basically became abandoned, overgrown. The jungle started taking back the buildings Luang Por Singh and the villagers had built. The scary stories just made people stay away.
But wasn't there still some connection, even when it was abandoned? Something with the Chinese community?
Yes, that's an interesting detail. Even during the abandonment, local Chinese communities would still come during Chinese New Year. They'd clear back the jungle around the main area, hold ceremonies, worship near where the golden image was.
But then
the festival would end, and the jungle would creep back in. It just reinforced the feeling of abandonment and the legend's power. The rumors even grew sometimes to what Kin Khan, the temple eats people.
So for years, the riddle just hung there unsolved. The temple decayed, feared.
Exactly, until finally, a breakthrough. This was in the year 2440 BE, which is about 1897 AD.
Who was it who finally cracked it?
A young monk arrived. His name was Farkru Chithawarn, but people called him Luang Por Pharang. He was apparently quite young, maybe only 23.
A young monk solved what 14 others couldn't.
That's the legend. He was the one credited with figuring out Luang Por Singh's baffling riddle.
Okay, let's break it down. What are his interpretations? That first line, Luck 3, Thor 3, and Rhine 4, 3, Treat, Hemas 4, Carry. What's that about?
Right, it sounds weird. But Luang Por Pharang linked it to processions, specifically carrying things. Could be like carrying a palanquin around the main hall that Yubo saw 3 times with 4 carriers.
Yeah.
Or connecting it to the local Chinese traditions, like them carrying statues of deities or Buddha images in their processions, especially during Chinese New Year. So demons might just refer to the carriers or figures in the procession.
Okay, that makes more sense. And the next part, spirits come, burn spirits, not yet rotten, fragrant smell.
Also tied to the procession, he interpreted spirits burning spirits as burning fragrant woods like sandalwood, maijan, or other sweet-smelling woods, maihuang. They'd burn these fresh woods, not yet rotten, often right in front of the temple during the ritual.
Creating that fragrant smoke that fills the air. So spirits might be metaphorical for the wood or related to the ritual itself.
Possibly. Or maybe relating to ancestral spirits honored in those ceremonies. The key is the fresh, fragrant wood burning during a procession.
Got it. Now, the really strange ones. Whoever thinks of a corpse, take from the red mouth frog. This is where some old local knowledge comes in. Or corpse here isn't literal death. It's interpreted in an older way, meaning like wealth, fortune, something you desire.
Okay. And the red-mouthed frog.
Here's the clever bit. Apparently, frog was old local slang for gold. Thongkam.
No way. Really?
That's the interpretation. So the line means, whoever seeks fortune or wealth, sop, interpreted as wealth, should ask for it, make a wish, at the place of the frog, meaning Phrathong, the golden Buddha. The red mouth part might refer to some detail in the image or a ritual object, but the core is, ask the golden Buddha for fortune.
That's brilliant. Okay, last line. Whoever seeks clarity, take from the vulture tempting the neck. This one seems to be about solving the riddle itself, finding clarity or understanding. And take from the vulture, tempting the neck. Reng La Ka is interpreted as shaking fortune sticks. Simpsi.
Like you do in temples when you want guidance.
Exactly. And the tempting the neck, La Ka part, is seen as a direct reference back to the Buddha image itself, because only its neck, Ka, and head were originally visible, tempting people, drawing attention. That visible neck is where the mystery started.
So seek answers, perhaps shake the fortune sticks near the image itself. He actually put it all together.
He did. And by providing these interpretations, connecting the riddle to local rituals, language, and the image itself, Luang Por Pharang broke the curse.
Because he understood the legacy.
Precisely. He wasn't baffled or frightened by it. So unlike the 14 before him, he could stay. He became the 15th abbot.
And he didn't just stay for a year, did he?
Not even close. He remained the abbot of Wat Phra Thong for 61 Lent seasons.
61 years. That's incredible. That completely shattered the Wat Kin Phra reputation.
Absolutely. His long, stable leadership turned everything around.
And during that time, he did a lot of work on the temple.
Major work. He renovated the buildings, the main hall, the structure housing, the Freya image itself. He's the one responsible for the protective covering we see today, the one that still keeps that half-emerged look, honoring the origin story.
And didn't he also try to find some proof about the gold part of the Golden Buddha legend?
He did, very carefully. He had a trench dug behind the base of the structure covering the image. Not underneath, he didn't want to risk damaging anything.
Just near it.
Yeah, about 1 meter wide, maybe 2 meters deep. Then he used a specially shaped iron bar, sort of like a gecko's mouth at the end.
And hammered it into the original base, under the covering.
Gently, yes, into the base of the actual buried image. When he pulled the bar out, it was bent, and he took it straight to a trusted goldsmith in Phuket town.
And the goldsmith found
Gold, particles of high-quality gold embedded right there on the iron bar.
wow. So tangible proof supporting the legend.
Exactly. It confirmed the stories weren't just stories. There really was gold down there. This discovery reinforced why it needed protecting and justified the covering structure he'd built.
The temple even got royal attention eventually, right?
Yes, a very significant visit. His Royal Highness Somdet Phra Barama Orasatharat, who later became King Rama VI, visited Phuket. He saw the Phra image.
And he was impressed.
He was struck by how unusual it was. He commented on the sort of boldness of building only the top half, deliberately showing it emerging from the earth. He recognized it as something special.
What did he call it?
He said it was Kongkwendu Yang Nong, basically, a thing that really ought to be seen, a unique sight. And it was after his visit that he officially gave the temple its modern name, Wat Phra Thong.
The Temple of the Golden Buddha, named by the future king.
A pretty amazing journey, from a cursed, abandoned spot eating its monks to a royally recognized temple, all thanks to that young monk solving the riddle.
It really is remarkable. You mentioned the source also touches on a slightly different origin story from the Thai Chinese community.
Right, just briefly. It's another layer some older locals share. They talk about a golden Buddha called Kim Min Sher, maybe cast in Shanghai like 2,000 years ago.
Taken by Tibetans, lost at sea.
Yeah, the story goes it was taken in a war, then lost in a shipwreck during a storm near Phengna. That area later became land, part of Phuket.
And eventually the ground shifted.
Exactly. Subsidence near a canal caused the top knot, which this story says the Chinese called Phu Hook, to emerge from the ground.
It helps explain why the Chinese communities always felt such a strong connection to the place, right? Keeping up the worship even when it was abandoned.
Definitely. It shows how different threads of history and belief can weave together around one powerful site.
So fast forward to today. What's Wat Phra Thong like now?
It's a well-regarded temple in Thalong, Phuket. The Phra Phut, the Golden Buddha, is the main attraction, housed in its vihara. That original part that emerged is still there, inside Luang Por Phrang's structure.
Can people get close to the original?
Usually the area right around the original image, inside the covering, is fenced off, for protection. But you can clearly see the half-body statue and appreciate its story.
And people worship a replica.
Yes, there's a replica nearby where visitors can make offerings, apply gold leaf, the usual things. But the original buried part, still down there, never fully dug up.
It really is unique. A main temple image that's only half visible.
It stands out. And that half-finished look is almost certainly deliberate, right? A constant reminder of the legend, that it wasn't just made and put there, it emerged. It's part of its power.
When you hear the whole story laid out like that, the deaths, the curse, the wasps, the riddle, the 14 abbots, then finally Luang Por Phrang, it puts Wat Phra Thong right up there with Thailand's most amazing Buddha image legends, like Phra Phutachinarat or Luang Por To. Each one has its own incredible story.
Each story touches on that deep connection between the spiritual world and the physical place in Thai culture.
This Phuket legend is just, captivating. History, belief, mystery, all rolled into one.
And again, it's worth remembering, this is rooted in local belief, passed down. We're sharing the story as it's told, so keep that perspective.
Definitely. But if you do find yourself in Phuket, maybe driving down from the airport, Wat Phra Thong is right there in Thalong on the left side of the road.
Easy to find.
And worth a stop. You can see this incredibly unique image, pay respects, maybe ask for a blessing. Knowing the story we've just told makes visiting, makes it something else entirely.
Transforms it from just seeing a temple to encountering a living piece of legend.
So if you found this story as fascinating as we do, if you like these kinds of mysteries and old legends, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Hoarder Docs. We appreciate you listening.
For today, Tere Kadalagawe.